The Pats won in Miami because they followed through on one of Mike Vrabel's core tenets. The big boys, they went to work. This is Locked On Patriots.
You are Locked On Patriots, your daily New England Patriots podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's happening? I am your host, Nick Cattles, born and raised in New England, been covering the Patriots for the past 16 years. Also the co-host of the Greg Bedard Patriots podcast with Nick Cattles and a sports talk show host veteran. Coming up, some eye-opening numbers from Drake Maye's performance down in Miami that you do not want to miss. Also, two highly anticipated offensive weapons have not been a big a part of the plan as we thought they were going to be. But first, the Pats won because they did the dirty work. We appreciate you joining the show, making us your first listen, for being an everydayer. The Locked On Patriots podcast, a proud partner, the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Everybody talks about explosive plays nowadays in the NFL. It is 2025, explosive plays, scoring, explosive plays, fantasy football, run with the overs if you're betting, all these different things. And everybody loves the idea of explosive plays because they're sexy, they're fun to watch. And we talk about the skill position players on offense all the time. We are obsessed with wide receivers and tight ends. We're obsessed with statistics and how many touchdowns can this guy get? How many yards did that guy get? But there's an old football mentality that usually wins out. And it's not just all about explosive plays. It's not about creating a show. It's about winning in the trenches. And the Patriots won in Miami because they won in the trenches, especially as that game went on. Let's start with the offensive line. The offensive line did their job. And I said during the live post game right here on Locked On Patriots, I said that the initial watching it live, I felt like the pass protection was solid. It was pretty good. And I'll tell you, looking back, rewatching the game, looking at some of the analytics, the pass protection was better than solid. The pass protection was really good. Doug Kyde from the Boston Herald posted the Patriots offensive line only allowed 2 pressures against the Dolphins. That's according to Pro Football Focus. Morgan Moses had 1 hurry against him. Mike Owenu had 1 hurry against him. That means, according to Pro Football Focus, Will Campbell, Jared Wilson, Garrett Bradbury all had quote-unquote clean sheets. Joseph Pisteris posted the following. Week 2 offensive line stats and 30 pass blocking snaps, and this was per Next Gen Stats. Campbell, 1 pressure. Wilson, 1 pressure. Bradbury, clean sheet. Owenu, 1 pressure. Moses, 1 quick pressure. The 2 sacks in the game were put on Hunter Henry and TreVeyon Henderson. Here's more from Pisteris. Also important to note, Campbell was one-on-one 2/3 of all pass blocking snaps, second only to Morgan Moses. So Will Campbell was left on an island 2/3 of the pass blocking snaps that he had. So 20 of the 30 dropbacks. And Campbell gave up only 1 single solitary pressure. Going into this game, I had talked about the Miami Dolphins defensive line and the fact that they can get after the quarterback. They've got some really talented pass rushers on that defensive line. And the Patriots O-line, they responded to that challenge. They were really good in pass protection. Brian Hines of CLNS posted, Drake Maye was under pressure on just 19.4% of his dropbacks. That's according to Pro Football Focus. And Hines mentioned that's the first game of Maye's career he's faced a pressure rate under 20%. The eye test on the rewatch, they were good. Now, if you want to talk about the run game, some mixed results in the run game. The zone runs were not working as well as the Patriots would hope. That's according to Taylor Kyles. When you look at the film, the outside zone stuff hasn't really clicked. Patriots used it a lot during camp, but it's just not there yet. But there were some good numbers in the run game for the O-line. The Patriots were 10th. And, of course, this doesn't count the 4 teams that will play Monday Night Football. But heading into Monday night, The Patriots were 10th in EPA per rush, expected points added. They were 5th in yards before contact per attempt with 1.94. So they were giving the running back some room, but they were 19th in rush success rate at under 38%, 37.9%. So what that tells me is the Patriots' run game was boom or bust. It worked in spots. It didn't work in spots. When it worked really well. And it worked really well in the first half. But I would look at all these analytics and I would look at that game and I would rewatch it. And I would say, if you rewatch it like I did, you'd walk away feeling like there's some promise on this offensive line. Week 2, on the road, hot, humid. A lot of people wondered, would the offensive line get through with the conditioning? And with so much new, 4 out of the 5 guys new to the Patriots, 2 rookies on the left side, I feel really good where they're at right now. Of course, this can change. Everything's fluid. It's early in the season. But right now, based off that performance, I feel like they have some promise on that offensive line. They're headed in the right direction. The defensive line, meanwhile, stepped up big time in the second half. Specifically, Milton Williams and Christian Barmore in the fourth quarter. They made life miserable for the Dolphins' offensive line. Andrew Callahan from the Herald posted, playing through 85 to 90-degree heat, the Patriots' pass rush somehow went from a 14% pressure rate through 3 quarters, and we talked about that in the postgame, the fact that there was no pressure on Tua in the first half, but the Patriots went from 14% pressure rate through the first 3 quarters to 66% pressure rate in the fourth quarter. They were constantly on Tua, and that changed the game. Pro Football Focus wrote this about Milton Williams. Williams tallied 4 pressures on a 22.6% pass rush win rate in week 1 and followed it up with an even better outing in week 2. In Miami, Williams collected 5 pressures. He had an 85.8 PFF pass rushing grade and 2 sacks. Doug Kyde from the Herald posted, Christian Barmore and Williams ranked 10th and 12th respectively out of 111 qualified defensive tackles in Pro Football Focus's overall defensive grade. So right now, through the first 2 weeks, the Patriots have 2 guys near the top 10. 1 guy in the top 10, 1 guy 12th. Barmore, Williams ranked 10th and 12th overall for defensive tackles respectively by Pro Football Focus. How about more on the defensive line from PFF? Harold Landry, 10 pressures through 2 games. Barmore has 3 pressures and a pass rush win rate above 10.7% in both of the first 2 games. Kyrie's Tonga has emerged with a 15.4% pass rush win rate or better through the first 2 contests. And Pro Football Focus, by the way, had K'Lavon Chaisson with 5 pressures against Miami per Greg Bedard. And because of that defensive line doing work, the Patriots were able to get pressure in the fourth quarter without blitzing. Doug Kyde posted the Patriots only blitzed Tua Tagovailoa 4 times on Sunday. That's according to Pro Football Focus. That was down from 16 blitzes in week 1 versus the Raiders. They blitzed 1/4 of the time against Miami as they blitzed against the Raiders. But in the fourth quarter, that defensive line won and won and won again. And thanks to that defensive line, because the linebackers, I'll tell you, during the rewatch, they were even worse than I thought watching live. Especially Robert Spillane. He was bad against the pass. He was bad against the run. And according to Doug Kyde, Spillane and Ellis currently are first and second in most missed tackles. Spillane has 8. Ellis has 6. Spillane and Ellis are also 2 of 8 linebackers who have allowed 100-plus yards in coverage through 2 weeks, according to Pro Football Focus. And you had Marte Mapu, his huge miss on Devon Achane towards the end of that game, and luckily he stepped out of bounds. Patriots really need to figure out the second level. Bad in coverage, bad tackling. They need to be much better, both Spillane and Ellis. But thankfully, the defensive line, Landry, Williams, Barmore, Chaisson, they went to work in Miami, especially in that fourth quarter, and that's how you get out of that game with a W for the first time since 2019 down there in Florida. So, trench warfare Mike Vrabel said it from the very beginning. We want to win in the trenches. The Patriots were the better team in the trenches on Sunday. And you get the dub. All right, we thought Drake Maye was mostly excellent in Miami when we talked about him in the live postgame. Well, up next, we've got some unbelievable numbers that say Maye was even better. This is Locked On Patriots, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Let's talk about Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride with more IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus awards than anyone else. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details, and Mazda brings this same intention to how we craft every single model. Stunning detail that will bring you back to the 2 dynastic runs in New England. Oh, man, the good times. You can feel Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to the available Napa leather upholstery. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. And here's something that's really cool. All-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, so you can drive with confidence through almost any season. And, of course, we know how important that is up in the Northeast. Like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there is Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. And Monarch makes it so simple to review your finances with your partner. You can see both budgets, goals, and spending activity in one single place. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNFL. Watching the game live, and I said this during the post game, I felt like Drake Maye was mostly excellent. Mostly excellent. Well, after rewatching the game and checking out the released analytics, I got to tell you, Maye was better than mostly excellent. Maye was spectacular. Men lie, women lie, numbers don't. And before Monday Night Football, Drake Maye, for week 2 of the NFL season, had a top 3 quarterback performance. Let me go through some of these numbers for you. Again, this is heading into Monday Night Football. You still have 4 teams that have to play. But out of the, 28 quarterbacks that played this week, or at least started this week, Drake Maye, 3rd in completion percentage over expected, plus 13.5%. Now, what that tells us is that Maye had some tough completions that he had to make in the football game. And his completion percentage over what was expected was plus 13.5%, 3rd best in the NFL before Monday Night Football. Expected points added, Drake Maye, 2nd in the NFL. In expected points added per dropback, Maye, 2nd in the NFL. Old school stat for all of you, passer rating, Maye, 2nd in passer rating. Maye was also 3rd in the NFL in yards per attempt. Cleaner pocket, more opportunity, better football from your quarterback. I mean, all of those analytics, all of those statistics that I just went through, the analytical darlings will tell you that is an elite type of performance from Drake Maye. There's no other way to look at it. There's just simply no other way. Now, to talk about the clean pocket is one thing. To talk about the overall performance and what Maye did against that Miami defense is one thing. But what about the blitz? Well, Maye versus the blitz of Miami, he was even more impressive. He showed tremendous amounts of poise. He was accurate throughout the entire game. I said during the live postgame that I could only remember the Stephon Diggs miscommunication and misfire. Rewatching the game, there was one pass to Hunter Henry. I think Drake Maye intentionally threw it low and away from the defender, but it was a tough catch, and Henry did not come down with it. You could put that on Maye. There was the Diggs play, which was, again, the miscommunication, I think, against zone coverage, where Maye thought Diggs was going to sit on his route, and he kept going. There was also the big play to Austin Hooper early in the game in the first half, where if Maye puts it on Hooper better, it's probably a touchdown, but he made it a little bit more difficult, and Hooper actually had to hit the ground to make the catch. Other than that, there was a deflection at the line of scrimmage on in the red zone on a 3rd and goal play. Other than those plays, Drake Maye was accurate. He was hitting his target over and over and over again, and frankly, he was dominant. And so to get back to the idea of what Maye did against the blitz, check this out. Before Monday Night Football, Drake Maye, second best passer rating in the NFL against the blitz. His passer rating for the game was 137.3. His passer rating against the blitz was 152.6, which is outrageous. I talked about the completion percentage over expected. That was a great number at plus 16.3. Check that, plus 13.5. Well, against the blitz, Maye was second in the NFL in completion percentage over expected, 24.3% plus. Crazy numbers. He was 4th in EPA. He was 5th in EPA per dropback. And if you think it's because, oh, well, Miami blitzed, but they just didn't get enough pressure on Maye, Maye actually faced the 9th highest pressure rate versus the blitz. When Miami blitzed, Maye faced a pressure rate of 54.5%. So Drake Maye was excellent with a clean pocket and no pressure. He was excellent against the blitz. He was excellent against the blitz, even though he got some pretty high pressure rate during those blitzes. Andrew Callahan gives you the basic numbers here. Maye was terrific against the blitz in week 2. And when you compare it to week 1, it's a step in the right direction. Against the Raiders, Maye was 8 of 14 for 70 yards and a touchdown against the blitz. Not terrible. Not terrible. Okay. But he went from 8 of 14 for 70 yards and a touchdown to 6 of 7 for 83 yards and a touchdown. He had a 62.5% success rate. And this is the issue for any defense looking at this film. If you blitz Maye, he could eat you up. Miami blitzed him. He ate Miami up. If you play zone, well, now you're going to have some issues. Because if you play zone, he's going to find those soft spots in the zone. And then you also introduce his legs, which is a big-time problem. Daniel Rotman posted, pending Monday Night Football, Drake Maye is the only quarterback to throw 68-plus times and maintain a 70-plus% completion rate. The only quarterback in football. Drake Maye is one of 2 quarterbacks to throw 68-plus passes and only account for 1 turnover-worthy play. The other is Josh Allen. And if there's one stat that we pounded before the season that you want to see Drake Maye improve on, it was the turnover-worthy play stat. He got better as the season went on last year, but he did have 4 fumbles in the final 4 games or so. But this year, through 2 games, even though he has thrown 68-plus passes, only 1 turnover-worthy play. That is significant improvement. Oh, Nick, it was against Miami, though. It was against Miami. Of course he's going to rip apart Miami's defense. That's fair context. Miami's not very good defensively. That is fair context. However, let me give you even more context. Because down and distance and situation, they all matter. Circumstances matter. So when you're going against Miami's defense, you should have some level of success if you're a decent quarterback. But when you go against Miami's defense and you're facing a bunch of tough situations, that's when you really prove how good you are and prove your mettle. In this game, first drive, you look at 3rd and 4th down. First drive of the game, 4th and 3, completion of Diggs, move the chains. Then on the second drive, you had a 3rd and 4, hits TreVeyon Henderson, the wheel route, perfect throw. Perfect throw from Maye. Continuing on that second drive, there was a 3rd and 6. Maye scrambles for 13 yards, first down. And then the icing on the cake, Maye throws that great touchdown, great throw, great catch, Kayshon Boutte. That was on a 3rd and 5. So 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6, 3rd and 4. Move the chains, touchdown. First drive, 4th and 3. Move the chains to Diggs. You end up with the touchdown. And then the third quarter touchdown drive, you had a 2nd and 12 after Jared Wilson holds. Drake Maye does a great job taking the profit to Ramondre Stevenson for 9 yards. Gets it to manageable 3rd and 3, which led to that incredible play down the sidelines to Ramondre Stevenson for 50-plus yards on the wheel route. And then he caps it off, 1st and goal, outruns Matthew Judon for the touchdown. So yes, Miami's defense, not as good. You would think that Drake Maye would be good against that defense, but he was really, really good when it mattered most. 3rd down, 4th down, red zone, time and time again, he came through. 2 Pats who were expected to have big impacts on the offense have taken a back seat. That and more next as we continue with today's episode of Locked On Patriots, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however I like to bet. Player props, building a same-game parlay, which I love, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds, hanging around with your friends on a Sunday, keeping your eye on FanDuel. It doesn't get better. It makes every single game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. And here's what's cool. It's quick, it's easy, and it's the best way to add a little more energy to your Sundays. Again, right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So the question is, are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. 2 of the most impressive offensive players in camp were Pop Douglas and TreVeyon Henderson. And I went into the season with some significant expectations, especially for Henderson. And neither guy has been a huge factor for this offense through 2 weeks. Let's look at Pop Douglas first. Against Miami, Pop Douglas had 15 snaps. According to Mike Reese, that is the lowest snap total for Pop Douglas since 2023. It's been a while. And before the season began, I had one caveat to all of the Pop Douglas talk. With the Patriots wanting to establish the run, I asked the question, would that affect Pop Douglas's snap totals because he's not a big guy. He is not a run blocker. He's smaller framed. And if you want to run the football, you're not going to have Pop Douglas on the field for the most part. And so I don't think it's a coincidence that the Patriots go out against Miami and they absolutely establish the run with Ramondre Stevenson. And they're trying to run the football and they have more balance to their offense against Miami than they did against the Raiders. And Pop Douglas is out there for only 15 snaps. When the Patriots run the ball, they like having Stephon Diggs, Mac Hollins, and Kayshon Boutte out there. That's what they like. They obviously feel like those are their the best run-blocking wide receivers on this roster. So that's going to impact Pop's snap percentage. It's just going to. If the Patriots want to continue to run, which I believe they're going to want to continue to run the football, that means less time for Pop on the field. It is what it is. Now, I do wonder, will this become too predictable? Because when you see Pop Douglas out there, you've got to be thinking pass if you're the defense, right? Now, of course, occasionally, every once in a while, McDaniels will likely call a run when Pop's out there to try to make sure that it's not so predictable for the defense. But the vast majority of the time when Pop Douglas is on the field, you can expect a drop back. And that is going to bring a level of predictability to the offense. So that also, I think, will hurt Pop Douglas's chances of getting on the field more consistently. Then you look at TreVeyon Henderson. Henderson only played 4 more snaps than Pop Douglas did. He had 19 snaps on the day. And rewatching the game, this is one of those things where you might not absorb it when you're watching it live. Rewatching the game, TreVeyon Henderson had 1 single solitary touch in the second half. Now, I believe he had 2 back-to-back, but one of them got wiped away by a penalty. So TreVeyon Henderson, your second-round pick, top 40 pick, he had 5 touches in this football game. 4 of them were in the first half. He was non-existent for the most part in the second half. I don't know if that's because Stevenson was having such a good game and Josh McDaniels said we're going to ride the hot hand. Could be. I don't know if it's because TreVeyon Henderson had a bunch of mistakes in pass pro, especially, which is supposed to be one of the best things about his game is his pass protection. He wasn't good against Miami in pass protection. He got called for 2 or 3 holds. He gave up a sack. So maybe McDaniels said, you know what? Too many mistakes. We can't live with him on the field as much. We got to take him off the field. Let's give Ramondre more of an opportunity, and let's give Antonio Gibson a shot. Gibson had 10 snaps in the game. So pretty interesting stuff. Pop Douglas and TreVeyon Henderson, 2 players who we felt really good about after camp, had 2 really good camps, and they have not done a whole heck of a lot in the first 2 games. I know that Pop Douglas had the touchdown against the Raiders, but he did nothing other than that. The most memorable thing he did in that game other than the touchdown was drop a pass. So we'll keep an eye on it. Will Pop Douglas and TreVeyon Henderson become more of an impactful, significance to this offense, or is this just what we're going to see? I have a little bit more confidence in the idea that TreVeyon Henderson will become a bigger part of the offense than Pop Douglas because of the run game. Let's also talk about Josh McDaniels, because obviously it's his call how much Pop Douglas is out there, how much TreVeyon Henderson's touching the football. And Josh McDaniels made 2 big adjustments in this game against Miami. The first one was just balance. In the game against the Raiders, the Patriots had 53 dropbacks, way too many. And against Miami, they had 30 dropbacks. And it was pretty much 50-50, run, pass. And that's what's going to make this team better offensively. I said it after that loss against the Raiders. The Patriots are not going to be able to survive offensively if they're one-dimensional. You can't have Drake Maye go out there and throw the ball 40, 45 times. That's a recipe for disaster. You have to find that balance. You have to find the run game. And the Patriots found more of that run game in Miami than they did at Gillette against the Raiders. So 30 dropbacks against the Dolphins versus 53 dropbacks against the Raiders. Another thing that we discussed after the Raiders loss, another thing that we discussed was motion and the fact that the Patriots were 30th in the NFL in motion. That changed against Miami. Rich Rebar, known as Lord Reeves on Twitter, check him out. He posted, after a 28.3% motion rate in week 1, which again was 30th in the NFL, the Patriots used motion on 56.7% of Drake Maye's dropbacks in week 2, which was 14th. Pretty much middle of the pack. So they're still not outrageous with the motion, but that is a significant jump. They more than doubled the amount of motion for Drake Maye's dropbacks in week 2 than what they showed week 1. And with pre-snap motion movement, Drake Maye is 22 of 27. He's completed 81.5% of his passes for 10.4 yards per attempt and 2 touchdowns. So when they've gone in motion, Drake Maye's been much better. McDaniels used more motion week 2 than week 1. More than double. Just more than double. So 2 good adjustments from your offensive coordinator. One more guy I want to shout out. Anthony Jennings. Shout out to Anthony Jennings, complete professional. Rewatching the game, I thought he made the most of his snaps. I think he only played like 11 or 12 defensive snaps, but he made a big difference at the beginning of the second half against that Miami run game. He had 2 or 3 run stops, and he also had a tackle on special teams. He was also part of the blocking that sprung Antonio Gibson free for the kick return touchdown. So shout out to Anthony Jennings. Not many people are going to talk about him this week, but I thought, given the opportunities, he played well. He did as much as he could with those opportunities. So great job by him being professional and giving the Patriots good football. That wraps up this edition of Locked On Patriots. Thank you for making us your first listen and for being an everydayer. Reach out to me on Twitter at NickCRadio. Don't forget to throw a comment in on the YouTube channel. That helps us, of course, with the algorithm. What also helps is hitting that like button. Give us a thumbs up and subscribe. We're now over 6,000 subscribers. Let's keep pushing. Next goal is 7,000. We're going to get there. We're going to get there sooner rather than later. So don't forget to comment, hit that like button, and subscribe. And for your second listen, get a double dose of the Locked On NFL podcast with Tyler the Madman Rowland and Tony Wiggins. Find Locked On NFL on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Have a great day, and we will see you tomorrow.